So I wanted visitors to feel an immediate connection to the app that they're signing up for when they come to the TaskTXT homepage. So instead of a traditional homepage, it's got this window that's layered over the top of the app. So it's not like you've blocked the entire app and then you have to go to a login page. It's all right here. You see the app behind it. The login is inline right here. And if you want to just immediately try the app, you can dismiss this window and start interacting with the app immediately in a demo mode where the data is not saved. And then the window is docked down at the bottom and you can bring it back up. And this all happens with these really nice fluid animations. And they're even interruptible. So as it's animating down, if I click it, it'll come back up. Makes it feel very responsive. So one thing is if you click in the shade area to dismiss the window, when you click down, it first does this anticipation where the window expands up a little bit. The shadow actually expands a little bit to make it look like the window has lifted off. And the black shade in the background lightens up a little bit. And then when you release, it goes down. Now, when you bring it up from this docked state, it's similar where when you hover over it, you get this little anticipation, it pops out. Then when you click down, it scales down. The shadow actually shrinks a bit to make it look like it's pushed in. It's very subtle. And then when you release, it comes back up. Now you can also dismiss this by pressing escape. And the cool thing is when you press the escape button down, it goes into that same anticipation state. And then when you release, it goes down. It makes it very fun to press that. And you can actually cancel all of these actions. So if you were to push down, like you're going to dismiss it, then you move your mouse back into the window, like I changed my mind. It animates back to the idle position, giving you that confirmation that now you can release your mouse without canceling it. And if you were to press escape to cancel it, and you're holding escape down like this, and then you click on the window, that will cancel dismissing via escape. Also, this button here is sort of a dismiss button in a way, because once you've created an account, and you click this, it's going to dismiss the modal. So this has that same behavior, the anticipation, and you can cancel it by moving outside or by pressing escape. Now, when I started creating all this, one thing I noticed is that if I click down on this button, the window's scaling up a little bit, and there's an origin from where it scales. You know, you can imagine scaling from one of the corners means everything's going to move down to the opposite side. But scaling from the center, everything's going to move away from the center. Now, in any case, that means that this button that you click down on is going to be moving somewhere. It's going to be moving away from your cursor somewhat. It's important that the cancel area is the same as it was when you click down, because if the area that cancels this, meaning the area that I move out of to cancel it, if that area moves with the blue shape, then you can get into a situation where you click down, the button moves out from under your cursor, which means you're in cancel mode. So it starts to cancel, then it comes back under your cursor, and then the window will start like vibrating. So that position has to be fixed, which means it doesn't exactly match the blue shape once it's expanded. So I want that shape to remain as close as possible to where it was when you started. So what I do is dynamically set the origin of this scale animation to wherever your mouse was. That way the blue shape of the button is scaling up from right under your mouse instead of moving down or up from your mouse. And you can see this more clearly if I click into the shade, because this does the same origin setting. So if I click at the top, the origin is at the top and the window is going to expand downwards. And if I click at the bottom, the origin is at the bottom and it's going to expand upwards. And if I click in the middle, it's in the middle. Now when I press the escape key to cancel, it always sets the origin to the middle. And it's actually the middle of the browser window, not the middle of the modal. Because if it was the middle of this window and that window was off the screen, then the middle could potentially be really far away from what I'm looking at. So another interesting thing that happens is when you make your browser window smaller, you can see that the window is centered within the browser. But as I go up, it pins to the top. Because if it stayed centered, it would be going off the top, which would look pretty weird. And this way, if your browser window is too small, you can scroll the content of that window. But now when I dismiss it, it needs to be scrolled back up to the top when it dismisses so that the content from the top is visible in this docked state. So it actually animates the scroll position as it animates back down, and then it cuts everything off at the bottom so it's no longer scrollable. And that all happens during the animation down, so it looks very smooth, you don't even see it. Another animation that happens as it all goes down that you don't really see is a crossfade of all this content at the top, because this content won't really fit in that docked position very well. So it crossfades with slightly different content, and you can see that when I play it in slow motion. So you have this content that looks similar, but is suitable for the docked position of this window. Another thing that happens is when you do cut off the bottom of this, and then you scroll down, you have square corners at the bottom. So this window has rounded corners, but when you're in this state where you can scroll down to the bottom, it would look weird if you had rounded corners hitting up against the bottom of the window. So that changes as you get into this state. And you can even see the corners animate as you go between those two states, which is kind of fun. So pressing this button does the same anticipation animation, but it waits. And it waits until the login is finished. If there's an error, it returns back to the idle state. And if there's not, like if I put in a valid account here, and then I click here, it's going to think for a second while it does the account creation, and then it will fully dismiss.